Ready? Right in the front row if you want to see.
Call the meeting to order. Everybody, please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Want to sit in the front?
I'd like to remind everybody of our district vision mission statement, which is promoting lifelong learning through real world experiences. Please call the roll and establish quorum.
Dominic.
Here.
Fields.
Here.
Fisher is absent. Silva.
Here.
McConnell.
Here. We have approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda. Second.
Moved by Bonnie, seconded by Cindy, to approve the agenda. Call the roll, please.
Fields.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
There's one down there.
Item 6, open forum. It's an opportunity for someone to speak with something that's not on the agenda, with a reminder there will be no action taken from the board. Okay. What I can see. Consent items. Does anybody have any questions or comments on consent items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items. Second.
Motion by Michelle, seconded by Cindy to approve the consent items. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
McConnell.
Old business, second reading of new board policy 401.13, employee use of cell phones.
I make a motion to approve the board policy 401.13, employee use of cell phones.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Cindy, second by Michelle for the second reading of board policy 401.13. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
McConnell.
All right. Reports and correspondence.
All right, so this is kind of a little bit of a different tradition. So you notice there's probably a lot of extra people in the room for a good reason. So we are going to have each month our principals are selecting both students and staff to recognize formally in a public audience, and especially in front of our board, so that our board understands the work that our teachers and our students are doing on a daily basis and on a monthly basis. So we're going to go through high school, middle school, and then elementary to present to their staff who has been awarded as staff members of the month for those particular schools, so they can be recognized in front of the board. And then afterwards, once we're all the way through elementary, we'll jump out into the hallway. We'll do a staff picture with would it be with Mr. Fisher? So it gets to be Mr. McConnell tonight. He just found out. So and so we'll just do a picture with staff, principals, and Mr. McConnell, and then we'll do students, principals, and then Mr. McConnell as well. And then y'all are free to go, except unless you need a permit. who might want to stay. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Phillips for high school.
First one up is Gavin Vanderlinden. Give a little wave so people know who we're talking about. His parents are Wendy and Mark Vanderlinden. I think Wendy's here. He was one of our PBIS Students of the Month at the high school, and I'm reading from note cards so I don't forget anything. He's probably the greatest Star Wars fan on the planet. If you don't know him, he's got fine arts in his blood. He's one of our role models for fine arts, there's no doubt about that. He has a dog named Linus and a sister named Lucy. And Lucy's here. He gets great grades, great attendance, and a super role model for other students. So congratulations, Evan.
Gavin, you get to do this really cool thing where you get to stand up in front of everybody while Mr. Phillips reads the next kid. Yay. You just get to stay there.
Sadie, go away. She's in the back
You can
there.
come on up front too, Sadie.
Sadie's the PBIS Student of the Month for September. Her mom is here, Michelle, and Danny Gilbertson are her parents. She has a dog named Sophie, loves working at Twin Shop, and I think we also know that means she loves ice cream. She's a bus monitor in the mornings and afternoons, so that deserves a round of applause in itself. Monitoring the bus. Of course, she gets great grades, great attendance, and she's a great role model for other students. So congratulations, Sadie. You can go sit down. Mary Ambrose, come on up. You're the next contestant. If you don't know Mary, she is our study hall monitor, second year in a row, so she came back to do that, so that's a good thing. It's her fourth year at Greene County. She has two daughters and loves spending time with family and friends. She's a big fan of ISU and Kansas City Chiefs and the Cyclones. Enjoys taking vacations with her girlfriends, and we are just tickled to death to have her as our study hall monitor. And our last one is Wes Anderson. I don't think he can make it tonight. He started his career as band instructor here in 2015. He's married to Victoria Anderson, also known as Snowy. They just moved to Jefferson in 2021. They can't wait to raise their family here. They just had their first daughter, or child, in other words, Darcy Elizabeth, and big fan of Harry Potter and blowing the key. So congratulations to Wes Anderson.
Middle school, Mr. Sanders?
Students or staff?
Students first.
Students first, great. I am honored to recognize a couple of high school students who, of course, they were former middle school students, but they have continued their service to the high school the last couple of years, and I'm grateful for them doing that because bulletin boards and decorations really aren't my thing. Their thing is definitely that, and they do a great job around here. Under the leadership of one of the staff members, I'm going to recognize tonight as well. I would like Brooklyn Roberts and Sadie Shannon to come forward, please. Very few people, mostly those that are in the building, like starting the 1st of August until everybody else shows up, would know that these ladies spend several days of their own time here helping Mrs. Challen to put up all the beautiful bulletin boards around the building, the decorations, the positive messages, all of the great stuff that kids get to see and enjoy every day. And I am very grateful for their willingness to do that, because again, that's not my thing. So thank you very much. Rona could not be here tonight. She had another commitment. But if you've not been through the middle school library, I would encourage you to come back when it's open and available. And if that's tonight, you want to do it, I'll take you through myself because it's amazing. Once they I knew it was amazing when we were in the old building because it just looked different than the rest of the building. And that was a tribute to the work that they do in there. They really care about kids and their reading. And they put it above all else in that area. And I think the first year we were here, I was dumbfounded to know how many thousands of books our kids read in middle school every year. Some kids are reading 40 or more books a year. That wasn't me either. So I'm glad that there are people that do that. And Rhoda is taking the lead on that and kind of solo this year with the guidance and support of the AEA, but she's really taken the lead on that. It's a welcoming, warm, inviting place, and she's the one to get the credit for that. So if you would please recognize her in her absence, I appreciate it. And the other staff member I wanted to recognize tonight was Whitney Hoyle. Whitney is a member of our 6th grade team, but she also has served the last year on our PBIS team. PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports. Under Karen Shannon's leadership, the last year, we were able to move forward. And when Karen decided to move into the math position for about 13,000 reasons, I was like, oh no, what are we gonna do? Well, thank you to Whitney for stepping up and taking the leadership in that position. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of coordination. It's a lot of communication. And she didn't hesitate. Not 1 second did she hesitate when I asked her to do that. So I wanted to make sure that she got recognition for that. If you would please recognize her in her absence.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to sort my stuff here. So the students I want to recognize first, the first one is Ava Walker. You can stand up right there. You don't have to come over here if you don't want. Ava is a 1st grader. And Ava was, one thing that we did at our school was I asked for the teachers' help to nominate students. So this is what Ava's teacher has to say about her. She's incredibly kind to everyone around her. And she's always ready to help out and make new friends. And she's here with her mom and dad, Dan and Holly. So congratulations, Eva. And the next one I want to recognize is Emma. You can stay right there. Just stay right there, Emma. I'll walk over here. Emma is a kindergartner, and she is in Mrs. Mallinger's class. And again, what I had her teacher say about, this is what her teacher said about her. Emma is an excellent role model for all of the students around her. She works independently, follows directions the first time, and I feel very lucky to have Emma in my class. So she's here with her mom. Okay, so staff, I did the same thing with staff. I had our staff at the elementary help with staff recognition. So the first person I want to recognize is Chelsea Lawrence. She is our 2nd grade associate, and Chelsea stepped into a role that's kind of been vacant for a little while. She has really worked hard to get to know the 2nd grade students and staff, and your teacher said about you, you always have a positive attitude and you're ready to help out however you can. So, Chelsea. The next, I have a group, actually. Our staff recognized really a group of teachers that at the beginning of the year, anything that we needed help with at the elementary, which was a lot of small children things, transition things, all the things. There's just a lot of things. It was our title teachers. So we have Kristen Heupel here, Tiffany Hupp, and Sandy Jewell. And their colleagues recognized the whole team because it was, if they needed help, if we needed help, hey, we need help at, lunch. Okay, we're there. Hey, we need extra hands at, in the bathroom or in line for pre-K. No problem, we're there. These ladies were the extra hands that we could not have been successful without them. So thank you very much.
All right, if we want to have just take a couple minutes here, but we'll have our students and staff members who are recognized We'll just jump out in the hallway here and take a quick picture, and y'all are free to go afterwards.
You ready? Thank you.
Yep, you're golden. I don't know if you open up my nose. Don't worry about that. And honestly, but it happens with passing you open the truck that happens where somebody. Are we opening windows?
We didn't come.
I'm gonna take that. Oh, look, yeah, you're neat. Homecoming dance was about there. It's actually a softball tournament. Oh, okay, that, I thought, was it? It was crazy.
I think that was the years I missed in a row.
Oh, I was miserable. I was hoping that was like cross country.
It's actually, it's an old injury.
Good for you.
It'll definitely be around for the rest of my life. How long has it been there? 4 years.
I had. Well, that makes more sense when nobody spoke at open forum, I thought. You're all here, you don't have anything to say. Share it. Yeah. Okay, that's not gonna stay for
Working outside, I was cold.
Screens on there, so birds, bugs.
Grasshoppers, probably grasshoppers.
So as long as it's not.
This was so fun. I always look at these,
Sure.
I look at big clocks.
No. That's very much.
Yeah.
Now you have.
Yeah, like I would see, she had the right thing, and then she came also.
Your mom was just a visionary. Like, no, this has to be done.
It doesn't matter, but.
Actually, it's
Yes,
great
it's
now.
fancy ones that are gonna
They
be
sing.
bells.
Oh,
Yeah.
They
They
are,
are,
oh.
they all have to sing, so yes.
I mean, I'm not questioning,
Well,
I just always like, why could this be?
Like last year, just had like a $10 one that said $100
He would
and this year.
Not pulling my driveway.
Yeah, so we were, I'm not questioning.
It's fine, you question away.
Someone was just like. Oh, and I actually. Yeah. And this mental health counseling service, that was for the. Came in.
That's it.
Is that the one?
I don't think it matters.
Oh, you
I wouldn't.
I'll leave it early.
Oh,
Sure. Oh, is this your, I'm feeling that sound.
Your sister babysat.
Probably.
The one that came. Like, we got home, it was like this. And what? Yes. I like what you've written here.
I'm gonna do
Good more things to say?
I'll remember.
I was afraid.
I'm just kidding.
Oh, I got
Thank
you.
you.
So you're done?
Yep.
Okay, move on to board committee reports.
Board committee reports.
Oh, you're
Anybody
back.
got one?
Sorry.
No report, free, none of mine is met.
Okay, move on to administrative reports.
Would have been shared in the like shared PowerPoint there. So
We,
We don't have a link.
Hey, no, watch your language.
you or me was going there.
okay, it has now been shared with you. Yeah, I just shared it. It should be in your email now. So. Any questions or comments or anything on what is there once you all get on that, get a chance to look at that?
I got good comments about letting the elementary dress up for homecoming, kind of a small thing, but
Good.
people were happy.
We had a lot of students participate, I thought, so.
And map testing went okay.
Yep,
First
so-
day was rough.
Yes, it was. We have 2 more days left in our district window, but probably sitting on about 96% of kids tested, so it's going well. Seniors, you guys don't even know what we're talking about, so. Except for the sleeping in. part, you know,
Yeah. And then Dave, the football field, it looks good. I mean, it's
Yeah, we-
holding its own.
It seemed to hold up pretty well and turned real well, exactly. Just a few bare spots, but in terms of turf coming up, didn't have any problems there, and Sean thinks we can just move our lower level, which we only have 2 of those games left anyway, so they'll be it when that's the field.
Cool.
Sorry, I'm not the fastest reader.
So when do we get feedback or results from the map? This is really just our baseline.
Mhm.
Right? And it's the next one that will be a little more.
So we already have, of those students who have already tested, we already have the results. I just haven't pulled it into a district-wide report to put that together. So I'll give that to you guys at our October board meeting. But we already have an actual, our data is for as a baseline looks pretty promising. Very good position.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, move on to the student construction project.
Okay, well, we've had some delays and searching out some expertise, I guess. So I kind of reached out to Tanner Stoppers and Wade Weiss for some of their knowledge on build projects and kind of stability and that kind of thing. Kind of helped us out, took some soil samples, kind of gave some recommendations. So we kind of jumped back and forth on each side of the road. And then come to find out that the south side was just ended up being a lot better location. We're a lot higher up. Soil type is a little better. But what we did run into, after, excuse me, after 2 1 calls, we found out we had some water, electrical, and gas all kind of in that vicinity. So we had to move back a little bit further. So our setback's a little further from where the roadway will be, which will be good to allow more movement into that building or structure away from the street, but it's going to take a little more concrete. We did get a price quote back from Tri-County, apples for apples. They came in underneath Menards, so about $4,000 underneath right now. So price wise, apples for apples, we're setting pretty good there. Tom Skeppers came in yesterday, did our initial dirt work. Kids laid out today where the holes are gonna be augered for the piers. He's coming in tomorrow morning and we're augering holes, so we're gonna be busy now. So it was kind of slow, but came at the right time and we're ready to run. So yeah, kids are been really super responsive. We've kind of did some other experiences, went over to Teresa's and kind of located lot lines and did some real world learning there too. So had some really good experiences with the kids already. So really excited about this group. And so it's kind of where we're at. Yeah, so Tri-County, he didn't have an itemized total, but if you go through the Menards list, it's essentially the same product, and that's where he came in on the total price. So, but he'll give me that itemized list. But I was super happy about that we're kind of either in the ballpark or a little below. So, product will. So really, the only real added expense that I'm looking at, I think, is some more concrete on our approach. So far, that's no good. No news is good news on that part. So we did get our brackets in. Brenda helped us get those ordered directly through them. They shipped them, got them yesterday, or got them today actually. So it's going to be pretty exciting because I think they're set up for students to use, and once we have the holes augered, they're just kind of replacement. We form up the whole thing and then we place where the brackets are going to go, and we pour the holes, place the brackets where they belong. So it's going to be a really good setup for myself, but also for the students, because they're, kind of the legwork is going to be done before we get wet concrete and have to stress about getting the piers perfect. And so I think it's going to be a good setup for them. So questions? All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
New business, school permit requests.
Yeah, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 7 kids looking at school permits. So what we do is we'll just kind of go in the order that the names are up there. And so what I'm gonna do is just ask each of you why you need a school permit, and then when we're done just chatting about that, we'll go over just some of the basic rules that you need to make sure and follow. So Gavin, why do you need a school permit?
To get to sports and school.
And so maybe somebody else doesn't take you all the time? Yeah. All right, awesome. Drew.
I need my school permit just for sports mainly, going off a lot of friends that get me from the high school, the practice fields, and just the overall, just get to school.
Gracie. Is Gracie here? Trenton. Veronica.
Mainly for just getting to school, and my mom's a teacher, so sometimes she has to leave early, and it's just nice to get a ride myself.
Taylor.
I live out of town, so like getting to school.
And then Hayden.
Mainly just to get to school, go to work, and back to home, and if I have to help out on the farm and all that.
Is that where you work, is on a farm? So it's both? Yeah, good deal. And then were you for a school permit at all, or are you just?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Zach Kernan.
Zach Herman? Kernan. How do you spell your last name?
Kernen.
Nen. And why do you need a school permit, Zach?
Get to school on time.
On time is good. We like that. Good answer. Very good. Okay, I'm just gonna go over, you guys should have this form, or you'll wanna get this form, and this is up to you and your parents to get to the courthouse and handle all of that part. But I'm gonna point out the things that kids break the most, that get tattled on the most, busted on the most. So key points to remember. When you're driving, it's from home to school, so it's a direct route from home to school. If you have to get gas, you stop to the closest station on the way. And you can't drive after 10 p.m. So like the homecoming dance, it's over at 10, you won't get home till 10:30. Probably shouldn't drive to that, as bad as that sounds, but 10 is supposed to be the cutoff. And then 5 a.m., which most of you don't have practices or lifting that early. You wanna do school-sponsored activities, so it's not just driving up to PC if you're not involved in their program, that's not part of your thing, it's to your own activities, and to school activities in your school district. Passengers, when you don't have an adult, you can drive your siblings and people that live in your house and one friend. So a group of friends, you really aren't supposed to be doing that. Don't use your phone, you know where you're going to and from, so just put it in the back seat, put it on do not disturb. Mom's probably tracking you anyway, so don't worry about it, and just, well, maybe I'm the only one who does that. And then anytime you have a violation, your 6 months probation starts over, so just try to follow all the laws you can. And then that's it. So I would make a motion to approve those as written minus Gracie and Trenton, and then adding Zach Kernan.
I have one comment to add to your friends, to your friend's writing. Your friend has to originate at your house.
Correct.
You're not a taxi, you can't go pick them up, you can't stop, pick them up along the way, they have to start with you and finish at the school.
Yep.
So that'd be the only thing I'd add to that, so.
Yep. And the other thing is, it's not just the police that are looking at it, it's teachers and people that work for the district that can turn you in for that, so just be aware of that too. So I made a motion for those.
I'll second.
A motion from Bonnie, seconded by Cindy, to approve the school permit requests of the ones that were here, correct? Please call the roll.
Fields.
Aye.
Dominic. Aye. Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Aye.
You can bring your things up and get them signed by John to sign.
Congrats, you guys, be safe. Right over to John in the red. I don't know. What is
They call us.
not work, couldn't make it,
Hello.
but.
There you go.
Probably.
Things are going well. They are.
So.
This is, yes, this is.
I'm not worried. Don't screw it up tomorrow, right?
You're here, it's good.
Doing good.
Do you need anything signed, or do you have your paper? Thank you. We have another paper, Brenda. We might have an extra. Otherwise, you can steal mine, I will go make a copy of this. Do you need a copy? Yeah. Go ahead and do both sides and whatever, I guess. I don't, the highlighter won't pick up.
We'll see.
There you go.
We're getting you a form, Zach. Hang on, Zach. You're welcome.
You did that, that's why.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah, we're upping it for this year, so you guys gotta get to 65 now. Good luck. That is nothing.
All right, moving on to fundraising requests.
There's quite a few this month, so we can get a spreadsheet.
Right. I appreciate that some of them are really early.
Wait, hey, wait.
Zach, you have to go ahead and
Wait.
give your sign.
Make sure and print the name at the top and then he can sign it, okay?
Okay.
There you go.
Thanks for coming, you guys.
Thank you.
Fundraiser. Yes, they look fine to me. I am looking at still putting them all together, seeing one thing I'll get from Brenda is just how much we are actually getting on each of these fundraisers too. Because that's the one thing I'm missing. When I was putting a spreadsheet together for the year, so I'll get that too. But I will move to approve the fundraising request as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Cindy, second by Michelle for the fundraising requests. Please call the roll.
Philbon.
Aye.
Fields.
Aye.
Dominic.
Aye.
McConnell.
Homeschool Assistance Program.
So what, we're gonna kind of restructure our homeschool assistance program just a little bit this year. So we had a resignation from Cindy Herman, would have been early August there. So what our plan is for that program is that Karen Sandberg will oversee that program, and Tori Ogden will do a lot of the groundwork and the legwork that is required there. With Tori not being a certified teacher, or she cannot be the one that is kind of heading up that program, kind of like what Cindy was. So Karen will be that kind of contact liaison type person that will support Tori, but Tori will be kind of, I'll call it like in the field, going to the homes, supporting the students and the families and kind of taking on a lot of that groundwork. And if she needs to consult with Karen, it'll be consulting on an as needed basis.
And Tori does have her substitute.
She does, yeah, and Tori does have her, and that's, yep, so that was, and that worked out really nicely. I spoke with Buffy Campbell from the DE and said that that's actually how a number of homeschool programs are actually doing it right now, is having a certified person. They said it's even better when they're an administrator, which Karen is, to kind of oversee the work that Tori will do with everybody. And with her having a substitute license, it allows her to kind of be a catch-all. So it allows us to kind of catch all students, and we don't have to have somebody who is certified in every single content area imaginable for, especially when our high school students. So she can kind of capture everything and just check in with students, and we can still have our program and still receive the necessary funding for that.
Do we have a large homeschool population?
We have about, I think it's 21.
And that's K through 12.
It's mostly middle school, high school.
Okay.
Very, very few elementary. I think there's 2 elementary. But what it allowed us to do is to pull back from a district to the east of us. It allowed us to pull back some of those students to kind of retain some of that enrollment too. So, well, we don't get a 1.0 for them. We still get I think they're a 0.3, so we still get some dollars for them.
We don't need anything for that, do we?
Just information.
All right. Item D, first reading revised board policies. First one is BP 905.1, community use of school district buildings, sites, and equipment.
So the major change here really is to item 1D, and in the language in the original reading would have said that we would require a custodian to be present at all times. Just in the position that we're in, it is rather challenging for us to find a facilities custodian to staff for the entire length of an event. So we changed the language to that we may not provide a custodian, meaning that we may not have that person present at all times, to essentially hold us to kind of reduce some of that guarantee that we would provide to anybody wanting to use our facilities, just because we've had that position posted for, I believe it's been 6-7 months, maybe even longer, and we have had either 0 applicants and or no interest, or somebody has taken it and lasted a very short amount of time. So it's just essentially kind of freeing us up of the obligation of having somebody there the entire time. So we just wanted to word that so that it was clear to any community members or activities that wanted to use our facilities that we may not have the necessary custodial staff there during the event.
you want us to approve these one at a time?
Yeah, this,
I'll make a motion to approve the revision to board policy 905.1.
I'll second that.
A motion by Michelle, seconded by Bonnie, for the first reading revised board policy of BP 905.1. Please call the roll.
Dominic,
Aye.
Silva,
Aye.
Fields,
Aye.
McConnell.
Moving on to BP 505.5, graduation requirements.
So the language change there, which again, thanks to Karen, noticed that the previous language said graduation requirements for special education students will include successful completion of, and then list the requirements. And the contention there was that any student receiving special education services whatsoever could have those graduation requirements. And just because a student is receiving special education requirements doesn't mean that they might be on I have an electric tennis racket that would just get that thing. It's, they do not necessarily have to abide by a reduced requirement to be able to graduate. We do have students who are on alternative assessment, which, our IEP teams would then determine what are the necessities that they need to ensure that they can graduate. Based on that. So we changed the language. We looked at, I believe it was 3 different school districts as well to kind of try to pick and pull of what they were saying in their board policies. So essentially what it does is it just updates it to say that students who do receive special education services, especially those who are on alternate assessment, would have that decision made within their IEP team, with their IEP team when they were in 8th or 9th grade. To kind of set that determination moving forward, and that it would not just include any student with an IEP whatsoever, in totality. So what's the change there?
I move to approve the first reading of board policy 505.5, graduation requirements.
Sorry, so Michelle had a question about that policy. So in
Number 3.
number 3 there, it says 66 credits of academic work for an honors diploma beginning with the class of 2018. So that would be something for us to dig into, is if we still do an honors diploma.
I think we are.
Yeah.
Still offered.
I think so.
You
Yes.
can recognize
still.
above as long as the same, the baseline for all students is the same.
Yeah.
You can have.
So then we would actually, we would leave that in there because that's where it started, originated from. Yeah.
We've got the motion.
We've got a motion.
Then I would second the motion.
We have a motion by Cindy, seconded by Michelle for the first reading revised board policy of BP 505. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
Fields,
Aye.
Dominic,
Aye.
McConnell.
Item E, board policy review 402.1 to 402.6.
I thought the gifts part was interesting. Like, really? I move to approve the review of 402.1 through 402.6 board policies.
And I didn't see any changes on that, right? Okay. So I would second that motion.
We have a motion by Cindy, seconded by Bonnie to approve board policy review of 402.1 to 402.6. Please call the roll.
Fields,
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
Dominic,
Aye.
McConnell.
2021 to 2022 certified annual report, special education supplement, and annual transportation report.
This doesn't really need an approval or anything. It's just a presentation to show you that I did do my job. The certified annual report is just a culmination of what happened all year, but you can't shut your books on last year until August 31st. And there's a 2-week window to get this report done and uploaded. And it's actually kind of stressful time for me. I don't like it very much, but anyway, it's important. There's a lot of information there, and so I don't expect you to read it all and look at it. But if you ever have any questions, come in and talk to me about it. And then information that's there also flows in then to the special ed supplement. And you see all the expenses involved with that, what comes in, what comes out. We are in the negative once again, and that's not unusual for districts to be in the negative for special ed funding. It held pretty steady though from last year. It's about the same negative amount as it was the year before. And then also it flows into the annual transportation report. And because of course the costs of driving anymore, the mileage rates are up from a year ago, but they do study all that, and we do get a transportation equity payment every month to kind of help out that we're, a bigger rural district that travels more than maybe some of the metro ones. So anyway, that's my big finals that I do, I guess, the end of every year. And if you ever want to talk about anything, come on in and we'll look over and I'll try to explain it the best I can. So.
Thank you, good work.
That's not to mention, I'm going to jump in there. So the DE was having a number of issues getting all these things up, all the information that Brendan put in there uploaded. And they actually, for the first time we talked about it as at a superintendent's roundtable about how many times the DE has ever extended a window. And there was a superintendent there. He'd been a superintendent for 32 years, and he said in his 32 years he couldn't recall it ever being extended. And it was extended this year, actually to the 27th, and Brenda's still on time.
Well, it helped everybody else quit working on it.
Also true.
Thanks.
All right, item G, 2021-22 SRBC request for allowable growth, special education deficit.
So you know how we do that unspent balance report. We watch that. We try to keep that over $1 million every year. Being able to get the spending authority for that special ed supplement or the deficit is part of our unspent balance. So it's really important to go ahead and request that allowable growth to be able to pay those expenses and keep our unspent balance up. So that, and then also the excess ELL funding, the funding never keeps up with the expenses of running an ELL program. So there's about, is it 10,000 that we're asking for? Scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah, almost 11.
Yeah, the yellow highlighted, I think. Yeah. So you can do a motion to approve both those at once, and then I'll get that request submitted so it gets added to our unspent balance.
And the special ed supplement,
Mhm.
because that's a big number, but that's a number we're okay with. That's
Yeah, it would like we were talking the other day, it was over 700 a couple of years ago. Yeah, it is what it is. And one thing is that your funding's a year behind for one thing. And your students vary. I mean, like we have some that go away and they're level 3 kids and it costs a lot. And yeah. So
Yeah, it'd be really unusual for a district to actually run a surplus with their special education budget. In fact, that would actually probably invoke more questions than not if you were running a surplus rather than running a deficit. Is there ways that we can reduce our deficit? Yes, and we, Karen and I actually had a conversation about that today. How much it would get reduced by, we wouldn't find out for another 2 years, but we've talked about that just because in relative comparison to some other districts, it's a little higher. But again, we also do serve a higher population of students with more significant needs, and we do outsource some students to outside programs, which is expensive.
one of the lectures we get a lot of times is that you can't balance your budget by cash.
No,
that just isn't something you can do. You have to serve your students.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like one of those, because we could have a student move into our school district that we just could not possibly serve here. And, might possibly have to send them out to another school that could cost us, it could be a hospitalized program and, all of a sudden that's going to probably cost us $100,000 and we don't have a choice because they're
If
our,
they live in your district.
if they live in your
you're
district, you're responsible for them. So, you bet.
And this excess limited English proficiency is like an ESL student, is that correct?
Yep.
English language learner.
And are we gonna would that ever increase as far as when we look to integrate more?
It goes with your head count. And
Okay.
your, they're identified and being served.
Okay.
You gotta remember your money's always a year behind, but
It'll be one of those legislative priorities about,
Yeah.
appropriate funding and adequate funding, which
one time thing.
if they're listening.
Yeah, if they're listening, we can.
All
more
the
money.
We need a motion for that one.
Sorry, are we approving a request?
Yes.
Okay, I move to approve the 2021-22 SBRC requests of allowable growth for special ed deficit and the excess limited English proficiency.
I will second that.
A motion by Michelle, seconded by Bonnie. Please call the roll.
Dominic,
I,
Silva.
Aye.
Fisher.
Is gone.
Oh, not Fisher. Fields. It's an
It's
F.
an F.
And McConnell.
All right.
Okay, I almost said I, but then like, I don't know. Is
That's
that
not
maybe wrong?
Appointment to IASB delegate assembly.
That's held before the convention.
Right, and then we were going to, wasn't it our appointment going to be Steve?
I think it should be since he's not here.
And they had a special assembly and Steve agreed to do that in
Yes.
September. That was earlier, but, yeah.
Because he's been doing it.
He has.
Yeah, I think he would
Yeah.
expect to. I'm just teasing.
Well, then I can make that. Like, what if I were you?
I'm gonna make a motion. Sorry, Steve. You're welcome. Let me go back to my notes. I'm gonna make a motion to appoint Steve Fisher as our IASB delegate.
I'll second that motion.
A motion by Bonnie, seconded by Michelle to appoint Steve Fisher as our delegate assembly. Please call the roll.
Dominic.
I,
Fields.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Item I, ESSER funded technology equipment purchase.
I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Guzman.
Yeah, so we've got K1 Chrome tabs. I'm not sure if you remember that purchase or not. I guess that would have been before a few of you, but so we got those in 2018, 2019. This year they'll be end of life, so we'll stop supporting them. And they've actually moved along to it's interesting, they started with an Acer Chrome tab and they discontinued the model. Then Lenovo picked it up in a smaller model, and we found out a couple months before the map testing that the display on them did not actually support the test. It was too small, essentially. So we had to pivot over to the Chrome tabs we had. Thank goodness the students didn't break all of them, plus iPad. So everything worked out great. But so now Acer is again releasing another Chrome tab, but it's pretty expensive. And so we had some discussions amongst a few strategic groups, and I found this 360 model. So it's a full Chromebook, but also a Chrome tab style as well. So it's got the keyboard, but fully reversible. It'll flip and go into tablet style. So this is kind of the best of both worlds. It would allow our students in K1 to interact with a tablet style experience, but then also if they wanted to use a physical keyboard, they could go and branch over that avenue as well, which we think would be really good for transitioning to what they'll be introduced in the second grade. Got a really good price on it, so it's very much cheaper than what we would be paying if we got the second level Chrome tab. And these will have a warranty. They'll be an AUE, so they'll update through 2027. So we'd get another 4 years out of these as well. So between the price and kind of what this offers for that grade, again, the full Chromebook and then also the Chrome tab experience, I think it's be a really good model. So I'd recommend we would implement, or I guess we'd purchase this year, and then we would start hopefully transitioning a few of them into the classroom, maybe this year with the expectation that they'd be used next year.
Just to provide just even a little bit more on that. So Brent did some pretty good solid jobbing around to get to find these, and there was the company that we got the quote from, they had actually kind of found them, they have only limited stock left and they're selling them at this amount. We were initially looking at a unit price of, and this was before the Google Chrome education upgrade. We were looking at a unit price of about $260 a device. And to replace the Chrome tabs, I think we were probably closer to that 300 per device range. So we're getting about a device and a half or so per what we would have if we would have just maintained on the Chromebook. So we're actually able to do 225 devices, which will allow us to essentially do 2 full sections of students and then leave us about 35, maybe 40 to part out to use if something happens to go wrong and we need to kind of replace and swap right away. So so really, good job on Brent for shopping around and
And they're in stock?
Yeah,
They
so,
are, yeah.
yeah, they're in stock until they're gone.
Until they're gone, yeah.
As Brett mentioned, we have a limited supply. It's they're trying to get rid of this model to replace it with a new model essentially. So, yeah, so this is why, part of that is why the price is where it's at. I'd like to think I negotiated a little bit too.
So I would make a motion to use the ESSER funded technology to purchase the equipment as presented.
I'll second.
So motion by Bonnie, second by Cindy for the purchase of ESSER funded technology equipment. Please call the roll.
Yields.
Aye.
Davidic.
Aye.
Silva.
Aye.
McConnell.
Thank you.
Just order me an extra too. That's a good price.
Item J, FFA out-of-state travel request.
Just a travel request there from Ms. Harris to attend a career development event at Northwest Missouri State. There's no overnight. And it's October 6th. I believe we're going to be taking a couple of Suburbans down for that rather than a bus. And to give kids a variety of different experiences there. It's FFA. It's an FFA related trip.
And other than the Suburbans, really no expense. They're not requesting funds for the event or for.
No, they'll pay for their own.
Yeah.
FFA will pay for the registrations. Yeah.
Just the approval of the actual trip itself.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the out-of-state travel.
I'll second.
Motion by Michelle, second by Cindy for the FFA out-of-state travel. Please call the roll.
Silva.
Aye.
Davidic.
Aye.
Yields.
Aye.
McConnell.
Meeting adjourned.
You guys gotta stay 4
I
more
was just gonna
minutes.
say, you have to say.
You haven't hit your hour yet.
Yeah, 3 more minutes.
Oh.